We're going to talk. First, I guess let's kick it off. So my name is Jeff Hester. I'm founder of the Six Pack of Peaks Challenge and Social Adventures. And I have with me tonight Kurt Craig, our trail curator for the brand new Central Coast Six Pack of Peaks Challenge, which is what we're talking about tonight. So we're going to be kind of walking through what it's all about and some of the peaks, and maybe sharing some pro tips from, somebody who's been there and done that. And hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions as well. So if you have a question as we go along, if you could let me know, like raise your hand. I think there's an opportunity to raise your hand, or you can post a message in the chat and we'll call on you and unmute you, and you can either ask the question that way or you can just post the question in the chat. Okay, so first of all, let me introduce Kurt. Kurt and I know each other for a long time. Gosh, when did we first meet? Probably 2014 or something like that.
I think it was earlier than that.
Maybe earlier than that. Yeah, it was for the JMT Jam, right?
Right.
Yeah, so Kurt had done the John Muir Trail. I have done the John Muir Trail. And we've done a lot of backpacking together, including scouting out the route for the Theodore Solomon's Trail on the west side of the Sierras. And, just kind of, he's done a lot of work, like you can see right here. He's been doing trail work and leading and organizing group trips to do trail maintenance and clear things and do all that. And I guess there's a lot of that probably coming up this spring for people. A lot of opportunities in the Los Padres National Forest. Kurt, thank you for joining us and for sharing your expertise and your knowledge and your local wisdom, and being available for us to be able to have a conversation and chat.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna kick things off with a real quick overview of how the Six Pack of Peaks actually got started. My wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time, we're now married. We created the Six Pack of Peaks to help us, as part of our training regimen, to help us prepare for the John Muir Trail in 2010. And these are just a few photos from some of the training hikes on the right. And I organized some group hikes up some of those peaks, and we'd have, up to 12 people joining us. And it just turned out to be a really great experience. I wrote about it on my blog, and here at the other end on the left side, there we are at the top of Mount Whitney, at the end of the official end of the John Muir Trail, even though you still have to hike all the way down the 99 switchbacks and all that good stuff. 5 years later, we made it an official challenge. So there was a lot of people, friends and other folks who online would tell me, yeah, I'm doing the Six Pack of Peaks Challenge, or I'm doing the Six Pack of Peaks to train for Whitney, or I'm training for this or that. And so in 2015, we partnered with the nonprofit organization Big City Mountaineers, and we created an official challenge that people could sign up for. And this was some of the group of the 84 challengers from the very first challenge in 2015. So how's it going today? Today we have 17 challenges around the country. There's 6 new ones for 2023, and Central Coast is one of those. This number is probably way low. We probably have about 16,000 members who've done various challenges, and the feedback we get is that people are having an amazing experience doing these things. It's they're exploring places that they might not have been on their list before. They're having adventures. They are discovering what they're capable of, and it's helping them prepare and stretch their abilities to take on bigger adventures down the road. So like we did with our origin story, using it to help us prepare for the JMT, other people are doing similar things, using it to prepare for, some other big adventure that they have. So we're really stoked about that. And you can see that in social media, people posting stuff from all over the country, all ages and abilities, people who are, doing this sort of, just getting into hiking, young kids like Koa in the Wild or the Super Hiking Twins, and older folks like these two women from a group called the Bats, the Badass Trail Sisters, who, here they are on South Citrus, which is a badass hike. I have to tell you, it kicks my butt every time I do it. And the other great thing is that through this all, we've raised over $126,000 for outdoor related nonprofits like Big City Mountaineers. And this is one of their groups right here. They take under-resourced youth out for a week-long backpacking trip or canoeing trip or, a wilderness experience that for most of them, it's their first time, like sleeping under the stars or, on the ground in a tent in a sleeping bag and that kind of thing. And it's a transformative experience for them, helping sort of raise up the next generation of outdoor folks. We've also supported organizations like the Heroes Project, Leave No Trace, and this year we have another new nonprofit partner that's Responsible Stewardship. And so we're going to be organizing some trail cleanups and other things along that to kind of support their organization as well. The Central Coast, I'm going to dive in. These are the peaks, the 6 peaks in the Central Coast Challenge. A couple of them, Bishop Peak and Allen Peak, are located closer, or pretty much around in and around San Luis Obispo. The other ones are a little bit more dispersed. So we have Gaviota, Broadcast Peak, Grass Mountain, and Caliente Mountain, which we'll probably touch on this, but that whole national monument out there, the Carrizo Plain National Monument, is where one of the areas that's primed for the super bloom this year with all the rain that we've been having. So be interesting to talk a little bit about that. And with that, I'm going to switch over and do a live walkthrough of the overview site, and we'll go peak by peak, and I'll let Kurt, I'll let you kind of lead the conversation about some of the peaks and what's interesting about it, or we can talk about maybe if somebody has questions about some of those, we can tackle it that way. So I'm going to stop this share and we'll go back to, and there he is, Kurt. There's Kurt with Grass Mountain in the background. And let's see, Safari, there we go. All right, so if you have already joined the challenge, I know some of the people in this have already done so. You're familiar with this page. It gives you sort of an overview of the peaks in the challenge. We have a map that you can pan and zoom, and you can see, oh, that's Gaviota, Broadcast, Grass Mountain, kind of get an idea of where they're located relative to Santa Barbara, Buellton, Solvang, and so forth. We'll talk a little bit about our partnership with Fig Mountain Brewing, which is super exciting, and we'll come back to that at the end. And here are the peaks. So we, for those who are new to the challenge, we kind of list these in the order from, and some of this is subjective, but it's generally from the easier to the more difficult or the more challenging. Now that's going to be very subjective. Like Grass Mountain is maybe not as long or as much total vertical, but it's also steep as heck. So they have to kind of take that into consideration. You can hike them in this order. You can hike them in any order that you want. You can hike them in an order that's convenient for you. You can hike them in, well, I don't know if you can hike them in 6 days, but somebody can probably do it in 6 days. And maybe Philip, who I see on Zoom. I'm not sure I would want to, but you can certainly do it in like 6 weeks or 6 months, or you'll have all the way through December 31st to complete all of the peaks. And that seems like a really long time until the fall turns around and the rain starts to come and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I still have 2 peaks to go. How am I going to squeeze these in? So it's a challenge just to make it happen. So be sure that you plan ahead for when you're going to do these. So let's talk, Kurt, let's talk a little bit about these peaks here. So we have the first one on the list here is Bishop Peak with an elevation of 1559 feet, not super high. but it's the tallest of something called the Nine Sisters in San Luis Obispo. Is there anything you can tell us about with this?
Yeah, well, Bishop Peak's a beautiful hike. The views are fantastic. If any of you guys have hiked in San Luis Obispo, you know there's a series of cones that historic or old volcanic cones that kind of line this area, but Bishop Peak is kind of the most popular one of the bunch, and probably should be where it is. It's probably one of the easier hikes, but it's got some pretty good elevation gain and definitely some nice views. And if you haven't spent time in San Luis Obispo, it's also a fun town, as is Avila Beach that's close by. So definitely worth a trip to come up and enjoy and check it out. And if you're gonna do Bishop Peak and you want to do some more hiking just in that area, besides, we'll talk about Montaña de Oro, which is not that far, but there's also some hiking in Shell Beach on a new trail system that they built out there that's definitely worth checking out. And then kind of a locals hike we call the Dragon Back that goes up above Avila Beach and overlooks Avila and Pirates Cove. It's a nice area too.
Yeah, you're close to Morro Bay. You're close to Montaña de Oro, and of course San Luis Obispo. So lots of interesting stuff up there. And we've linked to, on each of these, of course, we link to a detailed trail guide. In some cases, that's something like All Trails or Gaia. In some cases, it's a more detailed blog post where we've got, some really vetted information and, a lot of good photos. That's one of the great things about All Trails and Gaia is that there's a wealth of information out there. One of the bad things about All Trails and Gaia is that there's a wealth of information out there and you can't tell necessarily how the quality of that. What is extremely difficult to one person is somebody else will go, oh, this is easy and boring and not worth my time. So you have to take what you read there with a grain of salt. The next one we have up is Gaviota Peak, and we were talking about that just a little bit earlier. Gaviota Peak, I will mention that it is under a temporary closure. Kurt, I know you were there because I saw some of your photos on Facebook.
Yeah, I was just out at Gaviota State Beach a couple days ago, and my wife and my daughter went up Gaviota Peak Trail just a couple of days ago, actually, too. So it's accessible, but it's a little bit challenging right now because of the water damage, especially at the lower part of the trail. And they closed the parking lot, but there's parking along the highway there if you look at the map that Jeff's got up. So if you're really anxious to get out there in the next few weeks, you can get to it, but it'd probably be better to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Let things dry out. And then if you go back to that map view, Jeff, it showed the Trespass Trail coming down from the peak, which I would really encourage you guys to do the loop rather than just do the out and back on the road, because it is primarily a fire road that goes up. And then if you follow that, the line that Jeff's following there, it's a nice change of pace to come down that way or go up that way.
Make it a loop.
You can see the whole Gaviota State Park trail system in this map that Jeff's got up. So you can see there's trails on the other side of the highway. You can actually go under the highway and go to the other side. If you really want to make it a challenge, you can do a figure 8 and take this loop on the other side of the highway and then go underneath and then do the loop on the, I guess that's the west side.
Yeah, you could go, around and around into infinity.
Infinity and beyond. Yeah, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful place to hike, and the views are spectacular from Gaviota Peak. And if you plan it when there's a launch, you can watch a launch like Chris was saying. We just had a launch actually this morning, which probably would have been fun to watch from up there, but it was a little early for my taste.
All right. And so Phil's asking, Gaviota is 5.9 miles. That's what the All Trails is saying here, and not the 2.4 listed on the challenge overview page. Yeah, it's at least 6 miles if you just do the out and back. It's probably a little longer if you take the Trespass Trail down. But I figured it's about 6.5. All right, let's look at the next one, Grass Mountain. It's not the tallest mountain in the area, we say here, but it's got some stunning views. It's kind of known for a lot of the poppy bloom, right, in certain times of the year.
Yeah, so we've had a few lousy years when it comes to the poppy bloom, just because the way that the rain's been. But this year, based on the weather, it should be pretty spectacular. Which leads to it'll be very crowded up there, and the parking can be a challenge. So, depending on when you're going to go, you might want to check the status of it. It's actually the entrance to it's on a private ranch that we have public hiking access through. So we've developed a trail system out of the Midland School Ranch that goes up to Grass Mountain, which is technically in the Los Padres National Forest. So just be aware of the parking situation when you plan that trip. If you're going to bring a group, think about carpooling maybe from Los Olivos to minimize cars at the trailhead. But definitely a great hike. And I think it's actually the hardest of the bunch, just because of the steepness at the end, both going up and coming back down. It was one of our favorite John Muir Trail hikes because we definitely got in shape real quick.
Yeah. This is another area that, because of the Forest Service closure, it's right now temporarily closed until March 14th. They're going to be looking at the trails and what kind of damage there is to them over the coming weeks and months, and could end up reopening some places earlier, or possibly even extending the closure in other places. So we'll try to keep a good eye on that. We've got a link to the Forest Service website for the closure notice. For some of them, like Gaviota Peak, the state park, that's a state park closure. So, and they say go to their Facebook page for the latest updates on that. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but basically, if you're thinking about going up there to do these before March 14th, you might want to think twice.
Yeah, both, and just to be clear, both Gaviota and Grass Mountain are not entered from the forest. They're entered from, like I said, Grass Mountain's a private ranch. So that trail system will be open, I would think, fairly soon. And Gaviota through the state park. So I think both of those will open earlier than the forest will. And they're not going to do any work on those trails. The Forest Service is not going to do work on those trails because they're not maintained by the Forest Service. They're maintained by our local hiking groups.
Cool. We talked a little bit about Montaña de Oro State Park, which is on the coast, just off the coast, or on the coast west of San Luis Obispo. Allen Peak takes you to the highest point in that state park, and this is a long slog, basically. Climbs 2,480 feet, and it's an out and back, kind of like along this ridge, basically. So, and on the way, you can basically you walk right over Oates Peak. So you can see on the elevation profile, we're going to hit that and have a little bit of roller coaster all the way out to Allen Peak. And, along the way, get ocean views, get, valley views, get, all kinds of fun stuff. And then, they as they say on all trails here, there's some other options. If you really want to bag another peak, you can do a little short spur over here and grab Valencia Peak as well. So you could do 3 peaks in one hike, basically.
My wife and daughter just did Valencia Peak yesterday, and the trail's in really good shape, and it's beautiful out of Montaña de Oro. So that's definitely a place to go here in the next couple of months.
Oh, that's awesome. Broadcast Peak. Okay, so how do you pronounce that? Is it Tequepi?
Tequepes. So I'll say it slow and don't be offended, but we call it Take a Piss. Tequepes. So we call it the Take a Piss trail. But that's the Chumash pronunciation is Take a Piss.
Take a Piss.
Yeah,
okay.
Tequepes.
So this is another trail that is currently closed, officially until March 14th, may reopen sooner. We'll just kind of have to keep an eye on that. We did have one of our challengers actually log that hike prior to the big storms that came in. They did it back on January 7th, and I'll share that in a moment. But this one's kind of neat because you get views both ways, right?
Yeah, it's a spectacular view trail, that's for sure, because you can see Kachuma Lake, which just went from less than 30% capacity to almost 100%, which is a miracle. And you see the lake on various points hiking on the way up. It's really a pretty gorgeous hike. It's the one I'm most concerned about, though, in terms of damage, because the lower part of the trail is in the drainage basin, and you actually start at a camp. It's called Camp Drake or Camp St. Vincent, and you walk through the campground, but it starts right into the creek bed. So I'll try to get up there in the next couple of days. Highway 154, which is the access highway to that trail, just reopened. So as soon as I can get up there, I'll try to get a look at it and let Jeff know so we can give you guys updates. But
yeah, and I just as a note here, the route that we show here on All Trails takes you up to the ridge, and there's like a Jeep road that runs along the ridge. But there's also a little trail that you can follow that goes all the way up to Broadcast Peak. So that's the actual peak. This bit right here from the ridge to the peak is steep and a little scrambly. So you just bear that in mind. And I promised I'd show that hike log. So at the bottom of the overview page, we have hike logs show up. Normally this will be full of hike logs. A little bit later this spring, we'll see that start to fill up with other peaks and more people and challengers. But right now we have the one from a challenger who, I think her name was Lisa, maybe, who did Broadcast Peak on the 7th, and she's got some great pictures. So this is one of the really nice things about, being part of the challenge, is that there's a lot of good information about conditions, at least at that point in time. So if you were looking to do a hike on the 8th, for example, and you saw her hike log, you'd be like, oh, okay, this looks doable. And you can see what the water crossings they had to do were like. And here's a nice view of Lake Kachuma. And here's a nice view looking out towards the coast. And, you can see the Pacific Ocean and the Channel Islands out there. So, it's a pretty nice way to get some information. Plus, if you had questions, you can ask a question right here. You can leave a response, or you could just say, wow, it looks like it was an amazing day, great weather, any other tips or advice you might have. You could ask those kind of questions right there. Okay, let's get back to where we were. And Caliente Mountain. This is the tallest point in San Luis Obispo County, and it follows a ridge trail. It's a long slog, so almost 17 miles, basically 2,500 feet, basically, and it's also a little bit of a trick to get to, I understand. So it's part of this Carrizo Plain National Monument within the Caliente Mountain Wilderness Study Area. But this road is not the one that's going to get you there. Isn't that right, Kurt? The 166? No, I can't hear you, Kurt.
sorry, I was saying that I actually haven't done this hike, Jeff. So I've been out
Gotcha.
to Carrizo Plain, and I've come in from the other side, not 166, as you said. The road off
Right.
166 is a dirt road, so you probably need a 4-wheel drive. It's better to go up through like Paso Robles area,
Right.
or come in through off the 5. But yeah, let's see if I don't see the road.
There is. So if you go to, let's see if they have it here.
Oh, here's 58 coming in.
Yeah, I don't have it here, but there is if you go to the BLM site for Carrizo Plain National Monument, they have a PDF that shows the access points. And basically there is a paved road that you'll take to about right here. And then you take a dirt road, and this dirt road comes in, all the way up to this trailhead. From what I've read, the people have driven sedans up there in dry conditions, but they would recommend that you have something with a little higher clearance. And then if you're not doing 4-wheel drive, probably avoid, you know, rain or anything like that as well. And so you're going to come in from either the north entrance to this area, which is kind of like up here, or there's a south entrance on the other end down here. Be aware that there is an undeveloped road in between. So it's paved at the entrance up to a point on either the north or south end, and then it becomes a dirt road in between. So I don't think there's anything particularly technical about it, but just be aware you're going to get, your car's going to get a little dirty. And then this is also the area where oftentimes people will go for the super bloom when that occurs. So the Carrizo Plain gets a lot of people, not so much up here on the mountain, but certainly down in the plain itself, you know, the plain proper. So just be aware of that. That could be a bonus for this hike or this trip, or it could be a detriment if you're facing a lot of crowds and you're trying to avoid that. So good thing to kind of keep in mind. And right now this is also still open, so that's also good. All right, so those are the 6 peaks in the challenge. I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. Shauna had a great suggestion. You have to put in the Selby campground for the Caliente Peak or Caliente Mountain to get to the right directions. So great suggestion. Maybe we can add that on here just to help people out. I'm going to turn it around now. Let's stop the screen share. And all right, so Philip, I know you have plans. Tell us a little bit about what you're hoping to do, because you're all the way down in San Diego County. So you're not a local to the Central Coast, but you're coming up to do it. Oh, you're on mute still.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay, so well, you just put a damper in my plans. I have a course I'm attending up in Gilroy in February. So my plan was to go up the weekend before my class, hike as many peaks as I could that weekend, do my class, and then the following weekend finish the rest of the peaks. But that's in February. So right now,
well, you could do at least 3 of them.
I think if the rain stops, you might have a shot at it if you're willing to poach a couple of trailheads, because I think they'll be accessible based on where we are now.
I'll keep an eye on the weather and the closures.
Yeah, the weather here looks really good for the next week.
Yeah.
In fact, it should dry out. It's cold, but it's going to be clear. So
my biggest question I had coming in would, if I'm able to do all 6 with good weather and no closures, if I were to combine peaks, what would you recommend combining, like 2 peaks in one day?
Yeah, I'd do
and I'm
Bishop.
A big hiker. I'll do easily 2-3 peaks in a day. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. What are the best ones to combine?
I would do Bishop and the one at Montaña de Oro. So the 2 San Luis Obispo ones.
Bishop and Allen. I was focusing on those together. Yeah.
And then, of course, Gaviota, Grass Mountain, and Broadcast are all pretty easily accessible from the San Ynez Valley area where I live within a day. Yeah. So the hard one's going to be Caliente, which you could hit on your way out, on your way home.
I was going to do that one last on the way out.
Yeah.
But like between Grass Mountain, Gaviota, and Broadcast, my initial thought is combine Grass and Gaviota because they're the shortest of the 3, and then do Broadcast the next day. But would it be smarter to maybe combine Gaviota and Broadcast, or Grass and Broadcast, just based on elevation, terrain, things like that?
No, I think any combination is probably okay, because they're all within the same proximity to each other. So
right, yeah, I'm going to be in a hotel in Solvang somewhere, so I'm staying there a couple of days, and I'll just knock those 3 out hopefully.
Yeah, I think you could probably get that done if you're a stout hiker. I mean, Grass Mountain, you know, when I was in my
think I'm
prime,
one.
which I,
Some people say I'm not.
well, you know, you know.
Right. Okay, yeah, those were my questions. If I can't do them all then I guess I'll be coming back later in the spring and knock out the rest of it. Maybe I'll take some Hike Beyond the Hills folks up there and we'll do some group hikes.
Awesome. All right, well, we wait for a few more questions. Let's see what we got here. I wanted to share just a couple things about some of the swag that we've got going. I'm really stoked about a couple things. One, we have, oh yeah, there you go. Shauna's got it right there. The Central Coast pint glass, which is perfect because we have a partnership with Fig Mountain Brewing. This kind of shows just a sampling of some of the stuff that the challengers get. We have this, you know, stickers, the hiker tag, which has been really popular and really successful, that you can, has a little carabiner so you can hook it onto your backpack. It doesn't show on this picture, but if you look on the flip side of it, it actually has a quick reference to sort of the basic stats for the 6 peaks, as well as a QR code that you can scan that would go to the detailed overview, you know, with all the links to the trail guides and whatnot. For 2020, the 2023 challenges, we made a big change. We're switching from embroidered finisher patches to a pin, and they're beautiful. They're really nice. You can pin it on your day pack, your hat, your bulletin board, and you can move it from one pack to another. So if you switch them out at one point, not an issue like it would be with a patch, and they look really great. So I'm really stoked about those. And then you see them in the background here. We have a couple coupons that are part of our partnership with Fig Mountain Brewing, which is based up in the area. And they have a special thing where if you pick up a 6-pack of Fig Mountain beer, you'll see a bottle tag that'll give you a 20% discount on registration for the challenge. But regardless of how you sign up, when you register in your welcome packet, you're going to get a coupon like this one, which is good for one free beer at any Fig Mountain location with purchase. And they have locations in Buellton, Los Olivos, Santa Barbara, and Westlake Village. The finishers, in their finisher packet, in addition to the certificate of achievement and the pin, they get a coupon like this, which is good for an entire beer flight and an entree. So it's a really nice way to kind of cap off, you know, finishing your challenge. And the only caveat with the entree is that the Santa Barbara location does not serve food. So it would, you know, if you wanted to take advantage of that, you'd want to go to one of the other 3 locations. And it talks about that on the back side of the coupon. So you'll get all that information.
Ooh.
All right. Well, hey, I want to thank everybody for joining tonight. If you have any other questions, feel free to, you know, pipe up. This is your chance. So Chris is asking about recommendations for campgrounds.
Yes, and Sculpt's not the only San Diego person.
That's
having
right.
been
That's
Big
right.
Grass Drive.
San Diego is representing.
And I really don't want to go sleep in my dorm, the old dorm room I had at Santa Barbara. So
Shauna says Lake Cachuma has some good ones. Kurt, I think you're on mute. Do you have some recommendations for campgrounds?
Yeah, I just put Cachuma Lake. Flying Fikes has an RV park too, if anybody's got a trailer or you want to rent a tiny cabin. That's in Buellton. Up in Avila, there's also Flying Fikes has another location up in Avila Beach. There's a couple of good RV parks up there, camping, tent camping also. So So those are good. The state parks on the coast, including Gaviota State Park, if they get it repaired, will be a good option once they work on it. But right now it's a disaster area, and I think Refugio Beach is pretty rough too. But I think El Capitan may be okay. So those are good options. There's also camping at Montaña de Oro, so you could look into that if you're going to do the Montaña de Oro, which I would say it's worth spending a couple days there just checking it out. Anyway, if you're on a leisure schedule, unlike
Yeah, check out Morro Rock and all of that whole area there. Yeah.
yeah. If you want to go the home of Firestone Walker Brewing Company, it's in Paso Robles, so that's pretty close to just north of San Luis Obispo. But they started here like Figueroa Mountain did, so they also have a brew house here in Buellton that you can go to, and they have a thing called the Barrel Works where they do their experimental beers. So if you're into that kind of thing, and we happen to have a little wine tasting here in Santa Barbara County, if you weren't aware of that, so pretty
Yeah,
big deal.
Some good wineries. Yeah.
But I'm glad that Figueroa Mountain Brewing got on board. Their company is named after a local mountain, which is right behind Grass Mountain, part of the forest. A lot of their beers are named after our local trails. They've been a huge supporter of our trail efforts from the very beginning of when they started the brewery back in 2011. So I'm really excited to have them as a partner because they're great people. And I think you'll enjoy your stop at one of the tap rooms.
Yeah,
If you're in town, you can hit me up. If I'm here, I'll come over and meet up with you in Buellton. I'm happy to.
Awesome.
If I'm here.
If you're here, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You're on the road and all over the country.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Tennessee for a little bit. So
Yeah, another Jeff asked, beer's not available at Arroyo Grande or Santa Maria locations, and I can't really say yes or yay or nay to that. All I know is that the coupon that they've given us lists Buellton, Los Olivos, Santa Barbara, and Westlake Village. So those are the 4 locations they list.
correct. Yeah, Arroyo Grande is closed. It's no longer in existence. And Santa Maria, I think, is the same. So yeah, it's the ones that you've got on the list there.
Yeah. Well, a lot of good recommendations on camping. I think what I'll do is we're going to have a recording of this. So we'll post a little blog post. We'll have a recording. So if you want to go back and look at this, or if anybody else who joins the challenge or is thinking about joining the challenge, they can learn a little bit more about the peaks and what's involved. And I'll also capture the good information that you all shared in the chat here, so that, and we'll put that in the blog post, so that we'll have links to, Cachuma Lake County Park, Flying Flags RV, the KOA in Ojai, and so forth, so that we can, give people some resources. So if they want to travel there and camp while they do these, they'll have that ability. Well, gosh, this has been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to coming down there. I haven't put it on my calendar to actually get there and do the 6 peaks here. I know that Ethan, who works with me here in the office, he's planning to go down there and do at least one of the peaks while he's going to be down there for a wedding. So, but I'd like to come down and just spend a week and tool around, maybe do some camping, maybe do some wine tasting, and probably definitely visit Fig Mountain Brewing, and maybe do 6 hikes on peaks. That would be pretty good.
Let's make it March. I'll be here in March, Jeff. That's when we can do it.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good. That's my birthday
might be
month,
good.
so yeah.
We'll see. We got a little rain this year in California. It's kind of unusual, so we're not quite sure how to deal with that yet. But
yeah, hopefully we'll have good news before March 14th, and things will start to open up again. And Shauna says, yeah, come on down and do a finishers party with us at the brewery. I would love to. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
she's talking about Figueroa Mountain Brewing, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I know.
Which location, Shauna?
Yeah, which one?
Which location?
I've been to the one in the original one.
Yeah, you've been to Buellton.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I met up, you weren't there, I think, when I.
No, I don't think I
through.
was.
But I met up with Will and I don't know who else, but
Probably Skip.
Will and Skip. Yep, that's correct. And looked like a really cool place. Yeah. All right, folks. Hey, thanks, Kurt, once again for joining us. Thank you to everybody who participated, who asked questions, who came to check it all out. Tell your friends about the challenge. I think this is going to be just a really great place for people to go, whether you live in the area or you live, within driving distance and you're just traveling there to kind of enjoy it. This is a good one. So thanks to Kurt for helping us put this list together and being available. And we will see you on the trail after the trails open again. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Bye-bye.